Joining me now from Beirut is Anchal Vora, a writer for Foreign Policy magazine in the Middle East. Anchal, thank you for your time today. I want to start with the resignation of the entire government there. Was that expected? Was it the only option it had?
Well, yeah, that is the only option this government had, but the people on the ground are not very happy about it. They don't think it means much because another government is going to take over, because the same ruling elites that the people here have a problem with continue to call the shots from behind the scene, and others who continue to cling to power. We've got to remember what the people here are essentially asking for is a complete change of the system. This country is run on a sect-based power-sharing system since the end of the Civil War, and that essentially has meant that the former warlords, the warlords of the Civil War era, have continued to exert control. They are the ones with real power. So people on the ground say, we don't want a sect-based power-sharing system. These are the ruling elite we want gone, because they have a clientelistic system of governance. They pick up the people from their sects and give them jobs, and that is just a corrupt system of governance and breeds inefficiency. That has not happened. What's next? We don't know. It's possible that a lot of other MPs, now a third of parliamentarians, need to resign for new elections to be called in. Only 6 have resigned so far. More than 30 more need to resign if new elections only on that condition can new elections be called in. The future at this moment is still very uncertain.
So the announcement and the subsequent resignations have not made any difference on the streets right now, where we're seeing unrest and response from the government, from officials there. What is happening right now in Beirut?
Well, one would have expected much bigger protests, but actually that did not happen. There were a few hundred protesters on the ground, but the security forces used all the tactics that they could and basically booted them out of the streets and said, essentially, showing them who's boss. We saw the security forces deploy the same measures over the weekend as well, tear gas shells, beating some of the protesters, and essentially telling them that they can't be on the streets beyond a point. So these things one does not see in a democracy. Lebanon claims to be a democracy. Protesters have been largely peacefully protesting, and they're not being allowed to because the security forces seem to be completely leaning towards the government here. And this is another complaint that the protesters have, that even the security forces are not backing them. So in short, we haven't seen massive protests today. They were very small, and the streets have been cleared.
Okay, Anchal, I don't have much time left, but the cleanup, the reparations, the help for the people there, where does one start in Beirut as a new government comes to power?
Very difficult question. We don't know when a new government is going to come to power. So, this is what happens in Lebanon. You've got one government and that government resigns and another government comes with the ruling elite who are basically responsible, who are behind all of this fiasco here, continue to cling to power. $300 million have been promised by the international community, but a lot of the Western countries are worried, where is this aid going to actually land up? In the past, they've observed that the aid actually goes into the pocket of the same corrupt elite. This time, they're saying that they would like to direct it, give it directly to the civil society. For instance, I was speaking to an American diplomat, and he said, we're not going to give it to Ministry of Health. Instead, we're going to give it to specific hospitals who we know are doing a good job. So that is another challenge that the international community faces.
So many challenges. Anchal, I appreciate your reporting for us. Thanks so much today. Anchal Vora is a writer for Foreign Policy magazine.